Hey friends, welcome back. Amanda with the Happy Homestead here. Took a little bit of a filming hiatus, but I'm happy to be back. I'm happy to be in the kitchen today, and we're gonna make some sauerkraut. So this is a organic red cabbage that I purchased from Azure Standard, and I'd have to go back and look. I didn't look yet. I think this was from our December 31st, 2021 order, the last big order before 2022 began. So this is the last cabbage that we had, and I just need to get it out of the refrigerator. As more and more things are coming in the garden, and I just need to get this done. And we really like sauerkraut. Back in the fall, I think I had bought 40 pounds of cabbage from Azure Standard. I think it was either September or October. And I made so much sauerkraut and different flavors. I made curtido, and I made a lemon dill kraut. I made an Indian spiced kraut, so many different things. And we're only down, I think, to about a gallon left. That probably sounds like an enormous amount of sauerkraut to you to say we have a gallon left, but I think we started with like 4 or 5 gallons. So we go through it, we throw it on everything we can. And so red cabbage, red sauerkraut is one of our favorites. I don't know why the taste is different, but it is. It's crunchier. It's not too tangy, right? But it's really good. So that's what we're going to do today. I've got one little head, so it's not going to make maybe a quart's worth of sauerkraut. But let's do this. I'm going to show you how to do it. It's so easy. Okay, so I've already peeled off the outer layers. All I'm going to do is cut this in half and get the core out. Now, when you're making sauerkraut, all you need is the cabbage and a really good salt. You do not want to use iodized salt. You could use sea salt. I prefer Redmond's real salt, which is what I've got over here, and I'll go into that a little bit more. So that's all you need is the cabbage and the salt. All right, the cores are out. So I have a really large bowl here. I also have my scale. I am going to be making sure I know how much cabbage I have. And I'm just gonna do that right now before I even start cutting it up. Tear the bowl, because per pound of cabbage, you wanna add approximately 2 teaspoons of salt. All right, so we have 3 pounds of cabbage. So I will be adding about 6 teaspoons of salt. All right, so let's just start chopping. Now you can use a food processor with the grating blade, not the regular blade, but like a grating blade to do this. I often find that it just gets it way too fine, too small. I kind of like the bigger chunks. And honestly, because this is going to be fermenting down, it softens up quite a bit. So it doesn't feel like you're biting into this huge cabbage chunk when you're eating it. So if this is the first time you're watching me do any kind of fermenting, definitely check out the fermenting playlist, because I show you how to make curtido, which is like kind of a little bit of a spicy kick on sauerkraut, and it's so good in any type of Mexican dish like tacos or fajitas, taco salads. And there's other fermenting videos in there, like a mustard, kombucha, kefir, right? Those types of things. But if you're new to fermenting, I would suggest you certainly familiarize yourself with it, because it's just one of those really great time-tested and true ways of preserving your food while retaining and even enhancing the nutritional properties. Right, canning has its place and canning is fantastic, but you know, once you can something, all the live enzymes in that food are just about killed through the heat. And so fermenting actually allows the natural enzymes to remain intact because it's not being heated through, and you're actually also creating a much more probiotic rich food. All right, so you can see it's very roughly chopped, and this is exactly how I like it. So we're gonna add 6 tablespoons of Redmond real salt. Okay, so as I mentioned, Redmond real salt is what we use in this kitchen. And I buy it in these 10-pound buckets. They actually have larger sizes too. And quite honestly, I would probably buy the larger size next time. But this is the best salt. And let me tell you why. Number one, it is mined here in the United States. It's from Utah. And you can actually go online and see some of the salt caverns. It's quite amazing. I hope to make a road trip there someday. But it's mined right here in the United States. It's a US-based company. And the salt is full of trace minerals, right? So our soils are so depleted over time. And unless you're really on top of that, right, our food just doesn't have all of the minerals that maybe it did 100 years ago, right? So it's really important to add a lot of those minerals back in to our diet. And you can do that through the salt. And I was trying to see if it said how many. I've heard it's like over 20 trace minerals. It could be even more than that, but this is the salt we use. And if you click down below, there is a link where you can get 15% off on your Redmond real salt order. So let's start adding our teaspoons in. We're gonna add a total of 6, but I'm gonna start with 3. And start working it in. And so when you're making sauerkraut, there's a time after you're done chopping, right, where you're gonna help massage the salt in, and the cabbage is gonna release a lot of its juices. And you really want all of the salt dissolved and all of the cabbage truly softened and kind of really mixed thoroughly within, right? And so this is going to take probably from 20 to 30 minutes. And so I'll mix it, I'll walk away. I'll mix it, I'll walk away. I'll add our 3 more teaspoons at some point as well. But I just want you to know that it's not like just mixing and then, you know, stuffing in the jar. I find that it works best if you just let it sit for a little bit and help the salt do its job. So I'm just going to use my hands. Be aware that if you are doing purple cabbage, your hands are going to start to turn purple and your fingernails are going to be purple. So last time I did this, I think my fingernails were purple for a while. And you could put some gloves on too to help with that. All right, let's go ahead and add our other 3 teaspoons in. You know, and again, it's, what was it, 2 teaspoons per pound. So that's just the general rule. You can certainly go lighter, you can go a little heavier if you like your sauerkraut really salty. But I start with the general rule, and then if I'm finding through the period of letting it sit, right, if I'm not seeing enough moisture released, I'll add another teaspoon at a time. Okay, so all we're gonna do is let this sit. I'm probably gonna start with about 15 minutes and then I'll come back and show you what it looks like then. All right, it has been 15 minutes. I'm just gonna put 1 glove on right now and see how it looks. So you should start to see some liquid kind of pooling at the bottom. Not yet, but we're gonna start, working through it. Kind of just crunching it up, massaging the salt into the cabbage, and that will also help relieve some of those juices. Okay, I'm gonna add 1 more teaspoon of Redmond real salt right now. And work that in. Okay, so I'm gonna let this sit for probably about 15 more minutes, and then we'll come back and check it then. All right, it's been 15 additional minutes. Let's see how we looking. It's definitely getting softer, and I can see that some juices are being released. If you can see the purple juice being pooled up there on the bottom, maybe you can see that right there. So we're definitely getting some good moisture. So let's get another good massage here. And I'm actually gonna add 1 more teaspoon of salt. This will be the last one I add. And we're gonna let it sit for probably 20 minutes, and then we'll come back, check it, and get it in our jars. All right, I will see you in 20 minutes. All right, it's been 20 minutes. I think we are gonna be ready to get this in our jars. So just massage it a little bit more. Goodness gracious, it keeps coming out of the bowl. All right, let's see how much liquid we got. Now watch as I pull it away. See, we got some more there. I think that's probably enough to start. So we're going to start with 2, I don't know if it's gonna be 1 or 2, but 2 quart jars. And you wanna do wide mouth. I think wide mouth just makes life so much easier. So I'm just gonna start putting it in. Now this process, it doesn't matter what kind of sauerkraut you're making, right? This is the same process. If you wanted to add some spices in here, like oregano or chili peppers, right? You can do that. And I have this amazing kraut pounder that I purchased at the Homesteaders of America conference in Tennessee last month. And so all I'm doing is pushing the cabbage down, because you want to make sure there's no air pockets, and you want to create as much of that juice as possible so that all of the cabbage is covered by the juice. And you'll see what I mean by that in just a minute. But when you're fermenting, you really want to eliminate as much as possible the opportunity for oxygen to be in here, and bacteria, right? So by keeping it in the salt brine that it's released on its own accord, it really helps the fermenting process be successful and keeps your sauerkraut lasting that much longer. Now, if you don't have a handy dandy kraut pounder, don't worry. I just got this. And I've been making sauerkraut for years. So what I would do, and again, another reason why you want to go with the wide mouth, is your hand. So I will just push it down with my knuckles and my fingers. And you can see, well, I can see, I don't know if you can. See how the liquid is coming up? It's hard to see that. I'm gonna try to make sure you can see it though. By pushing this down, you'll be submerging all of your cabbage in the brine. And I do think I have enough for 2 quart jars. Who would have thunk? Okay. So that one is pretty much good. I'm just gonna set that aside for a moment and come do the next one. Now this process has taken maybe 15 minutes, right? If you don't count the waiting, right, where I just kind of let it sit, I macerated it and then walked away for 15 or 20 minutes. But this whole process is about 15 minutes long, hands on. All right, I'm going to get the rest of this in here and then we'll make sure that they're all submerged wonderfully in their own juices. Okay, beautiful. So I'm just gonna clean down the edges and make sure there's no stray cabbage here on the edges, because that can get moldy first. So what's next are these fermentation weights, and these are just glass weights that you can buy. So some of them are just smooth, others have like a little notch to grab. Personally, I like these better. But I've had them both and they work great. And so you put your weight down and you're going to press. And if you can see, the liquid is coming up. And that is what you want. Do you see the liquid even around the kraut pounder here? If I keep pushing, it's gonna overflow. So I know that now my cabbage is fully submerged. Same with that one. I'm just gonna clean off the edges. Make sure that we are fully submerged. Perfect. Okay, I'm gonna put our fermenting lids on. These are special fermentation lids, and I will link down below the weights as well as these lids. Now, you don't have to have any of these things. You can use, I've used river rocks as weights. Beautifully like smooth, large river rocks. And then you can just use a ring with a piece of fabric. But I find that these Airlock lids work a lot better. And so the Airlock lids, you put a little bit of water in there and it prevents bacteria oxygen coming into the jar, but it allows the gases to escape. So it just creates a much better fermenting environment and really reduces your risk of any other kind of mold creeping in there. I'm gonna put these in here. And the lid on. So again, you just have to keep this on the counter for about a week. That's how long the fermenting process can take. You can leave it up there for up to 10 days if you'd like, but you will start to see these bubbles. You'll probably start to see some of the liquid come up here. Like I'll probably start to see some purple liquid come through and I'll have to change this water out and just keep it from exploding. I'll probably see that within 2 to 3 days. But after about 7 days, I'll take the airlock lid off. I'll keep the weight in it. I'll just put a regular canning lid on this and then put it in our refrigerator in the back of our fridge. And it will last for months. And when I say months, I mean anywhere from like 6 to 9 months. Honestly, it really will. But I have a feeling we're gonna eat through it within 6 months. So that's that. I really want you to try to make your own sauerkraut, ferment your own foods. This is just the gateway, right? Sauerkraut's like the gateway of fermentation. And then there's salsa and pickles, and there's so many amazing things. And I'll show you all of that later on this year too as things come in through the garden. But start here. Go buy yourself a head of cabbage, organic cabbage, locally grown even if you can, and start the process. Let me know if you have any questions. Thanks for joining me. See you next time. Stay healthy, stay well. Bye-bye.